It has been since January of last year, since I last posted on this game, man. It's been a long time. Didn't feel like it, but apparently it's been a long time. I'd come back and I'd played off and on here and there when they'd add new stuff, but never really got the courage to just make a video on it again. After doing all the cape grind and everything, getting them both on Vanguard, figured I'd try to shoot some tips and advice, people's way to see if it helps them get the capes that they may want. Try to help people earn the cape, instead of just, farm it however which way they do nowadays. The whole goal is to just give you the right information to get you ready for Obsolete. Because, yeah, it's going to be hard. I mean, when I left, we only had Lethal, okay? So I had to jump up 2 whole difficulties just to get used to this, which, it wasn't super bad, right? But it is a learning curve. It's something that you have to expose yourself to get used to as well. Like, you can't just watch a bunch of stuff and just automatically know how to do it. You need to get in there and feel it out for yourself as well. But it does help, obviously, to know what you're getting yourself into, know what to expect, know what works, what doesn't, blah, 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 blah. Alright? You kind of see what I mean. Really, it's just to try to make people better at the game overall is what I'm attempting to do. But really, a lot of people that play this, that are still here, wouldn't need this kind of guide, wouldn't need any tips, wouldn't need any of this shit. They know this stuff like the back of their hand. And they would say, yeah, no shit, this is all, common knowledge. Some people can't even get past substantial, alright? I'm thinking about those folks, the folks that want to get their cosmetics, but don't necessarily know how they would step up to the challenge to get said cosmetic. It's part of it. You gotta see what you're getting into before you really do it. Or just throw yourself head on in there and see what happens. You'd be surprised that, depending on your setup, it could actually be a lot easier than you had anticipated. Or, depending on your setup as well, it could be one of the most difficult things that you have done in quite a while. Depends on your class, weapons, setups, all that shit, Like, a tactical won't have to worry about all his damage output that he's doing in comparison to, I don't know. My Vanguard's ranged weaponry is kind of just okay in comparison. I do compete at times, but tacticals have it a little easier in that department with all their different weapon variety, perks that just do so much damage. You get my point, right? Like, you have options, you just gotta find them, okay? And that's kind of what I'm trying to get y'all to see here, I guess. You need some way of consistently regaining contested health, or just replenishing health in general, or getting your armor back quickly. Vanguard has the health covered, Bulwark has armor covered, and so does Tech Marine to a degree, right? Depending on which way you're going, you're gonna have to do different things to actually proc it, right? So, in the case of Vanguard, all the different health that I can get by killing Majoris level enemies or Extremis level enemies, 30% is nothing to scoff at. That's the team perk, okay? Just for getting a finisher on something that's gonna be everywhere in Absolute. And I mean everywhere. There are waves of, 3 Lictors and a Neurothrope, no problem, or a Lictor there, like, that is a bunch of HP. You get 3 of those, that's 90% of your HP right there. Just easy peasy. Next to no fucking fight, right? All you had to do was actually put damage out, and you get healed. That is the strength of these kind of perks, full reset, not having to waste materials in match, alright? Sniper has a perk called Purification, which will give you contested health if you hit your camo, right? But in comparison to Renewal, which gives you camo back for headshots, which will then feed targeted shot, which will give you more damage when you break cloak, and then also feeds Persistence, that gives you less range damage, or health damage, I believe, when you uncloak. You can kind of see what I'm getting at here, right? Is like, you take one perk to feed into another one, and then just keep going, right? Like, usually you would want the contested health perks, or whatever regen perk it is, to basically get back into fighting shape. But in the case of Sniper, that one will actually keep you safer, the one giving you all those ability charges on the headshots, right? You're always going to be doing headshots, man. It counts on the small guys too. Stacks with your team perk. So you will be invisible all the time, safely doing real damage. It helps. Vanguard has, Restless Fortitude giving you a little bit of health, damage reduction. It's not much, but it's a little bit. Hell, even Assault has Perseverance, where as long as you're using charged attacks, you take less health damage. Vanguard has, when you use your grapnel launcher, you get an armor segment back. That's a prestige perk, right? So, in a fight, you won't have to waste both of your grapnels to fully replenish your armor. If you feel like you gotta, you can, but if you play your cards right with the right perks, you can use one, it gets you an armor segment back, and then you can get your next one by killing the Majoris level enemy, getting the finisher, whatever, or your weapon, the Bolt Carbine in my case, can help cover that and give you an armor segment thanks to its weapon perks, which we'll talk about just a little bit later. These things really do add up, though, trust. Now, even Heavy has something where if you revive them, any teammate, you would get all of your armor segments back. And that's really good. It gives you your ability too, but, it's really just for the armor, okay? I really cannot stress this enough. Perks like Unmatched Zeal and Invigorating Icon, they are the kind of perks that can really influence the run, let's be honest. They're the ones that basically can carry the runs, turn it into actually salvageable instead of just a dead run right there in the water. You can actually go on to complete the mission, get the progress, possibly even the cape if that was the one you needed it on. These perks can save the run, okay? It's just that easy, alright? Put them on, never take them off, don't look back. Teammates will love you for it, okay? We talked a little bit about, some of the perks, right? But we'll look at a little bit of the setups and some of the stuff that I recommend that help me get my capes, right? Now, Vanguard doesn't have a lot of good weapons, in my opinion. If you don't run the Melta, like I just fell out of love with this thing, for example, then you only have 3 options, 2 of them being ranged options with scopes and everything. One of them, I'm pretty sure, is Burst. They can hit hard, but they just really don't vibe with me, or I don't vibe with them. Leads me to the Bolt Carbine. I only use this thing in SMG mode. This is one of the videos I did like a year ago, right? When it was just lethal, you could run the Gethel Amor Crusade, whatever the fuck that is. Nowadays, you really want the ammo from Ophelion Liberation. Same damage, a little bit more recoil, but you get a lot more ammo out of this variant. I took this after a while, realizing that I was running out of ammo way too much, and it's helped a ton, okay? Definitely recommend it. These other 2 variants are how you make this thing into a scout as well, like a scout rifle. The perk tree, I mainly use the top side because of the headshot damage, a little bit of the decreased spread and recoil to counteract what version I'm using. But the top part of it also has Gunstrike's reload this weapon, and it also has when you get a headshot, you can give yourself an armor segment if you do that to a Majoris level enemy. Now, 15 seconds, you would think that's a long time, but think about it. In fights, you're going to be in heavy combat pretty often, and you can just pull this off pretty routinely in those fights. If it's a long enough fight, it can go on multiple times. Now, the pistols, pretty stock standard, man. Like, we get decent options, and I ran the Inferno pistol for so long because crowd clearance, really. That's all it was, but I started to realize that in my loadout I had overlap between the Bolt Carbine and that pistol, so I put on the Neo Volkite pistol, because I love this thing. Went ahead, got the ammo variant, and let me tell you, this thing has been a game changer for me ever since I threw it on there. Top part of the perk tree, mainly for the discharge damage, try to keep some of the heat up as well on them. It's just really, really strong when you actually get this thing up and running. It's only really for the Terminus level enemies, Extremis level enemies, and the bosses at the end of certain levels, right? You don't really want to use this on anybody else unless you have no other ammo to use it. Like, it's really good. Look at this 1 mag on a Neurothrope, okay? Not the worst amount of damage. Granted, it could be better, right? But You know, this isn't even the variant with the more ammo that I was using. This is just the normal one with 100 in it. The 130, you'll get a little bit more out of it. Now, chainsword, I'm a fencing guy. I only use the fencing weapons, so that's my go-to. I learned how to parry with that one, so I do that. The bottom side for the perk tree is the one I use, mainly for the 20% extra melee damage on Minoris level enemies, because if you have a bunch of the small guys just swarming you, and you don't have ammo, or if you need to reload or whatever, you're going to want to be able to tear through them pretty quickly, right? So I recommend this path. I mean, the light combos are good. Really, it's just that part of it, right? The only thing I'm missing is one perk on the top side, which is like you do light combos and you take less health damage. It's not mandatory at all, by any means. But these fencing weapons are the reason why I can just parry everything, it feels like, go for a gun strike when I need it, but remember that gun strikes are not always safe. I actually die a ton going for these things. So I recommend parrying a ton before you realize it's safe to do the gun strike. And for me, fencing weapons are the way to do that. I'm sure people run block all the time now and balance because, you know, things have changed over the years. So run what you feel you're comfortable with. I'm comfortable with fencing weapons, so that's why I do that. Now, aside from all of that, the actual perks I run, somewhat important, but we'll get to those whenever it's there. Moving target is kind of just there. Like, nobody's really 30 meters out from me, but if they are, 10% ability charge is pretty nice, I'm not gonna lie. The other options are just not worth it in my opinion. Melee damage on Minoris, or Majoris enemies, sorry, and then, you know, you block, parry, dodge, and then you don't lose control on heavy hits, you can't be knocked over. I don't need all that. I can see that being strong, but if I can get a few shots here and there from 30 meters around, it'll be more beneficial to get that ability charge than the other two. Perfect parry or block windows are increased, not worth it to me. But 20% less range damage all the time, pretty strong contender. In my opinion, though, I run the when my armor is fully depleted, you take 25% less damage for 10 seconds. Now, it's kind of up to you. Do you want 20% up front at all times, or do you want, you know, when you're really squishy and vulnerable to take less health damage, you know? I don't really worry about retribution. I can see it being good, but melee, whenever your gun is empty, more melee damage, it's kind of whatever. I'm an equipment guy, so I went for the equipment one where you get 7 kills, you get 1 equipment charge back. A little bit long of a recharge, but it works really well with the tactical team perk. Honed reactions is kind of just not really worth it to me. I'm not even really going to bother. These other two team perks, Inner Fire is the only one that I would recommend if you were on lethal, okay? If you're playing on absolute, you do not leave the launch bay without unmatched zeal. I'm telling you, there's no reason to run anything else, okay? This will save the run. You will be thankful for bringing this. If you aren't getting value out of it, it's probably because you have a sniper or somebody that can do way too much damage and just insta-nuke whatever target it is. This has real value. Now, these last perks can be some of the most important. Restless Fortitude, 40% less range damage for 10 seconds after you use your ability. You're going to be using it a lot. That'll help you be tanky. I'd rather take that over, you know, a little bit more damage on the kick or dealing damage to the guys that I hit on the way there. Just not worth it. Zone of Impacts, you use that when you're leveling up. You don't have to worry about this, alright? You don't want either of these two, alright? I can kind of see Tenacity being just okay, but it's not what you want. You want Tip of the Spear. Enemies hit by diving kick will take 15% more range damage for 10 seconds. That is not anything to scoff at, okay? This will help you get kills. Trust me on that. I joust Terminators with that perk, and the Prestige perk I'll tell you about. These last three here, I used to use Grim Determination, but it actually ended up being detrimental to me, just because if your launch is on cooldown, you aren't going to regen any armor or whatever, and 15% weapon damage is not worth it, but 20% faster grapnel recharge is worth it, so that I can fuel the rest of the build much more easily, okay? These last perks, like, you can use your grapple to basically get kills on low health enemies, and it'll also give the charge back, it's okay. Lethal damage will restore all your armor instead of dying. Sniper has a better version of this, okay? Honestly, don't take Emperor's Blessing. Adrenaline Rush is the reason I became the Vanguard main I am today. Majoris level enemies, if you melee kill them or really finisher them, 5% health, okay? It's not a lot, but when you realize how many Majoris level enemies there are in these missions, it becomes very clear how much health you have on the table at all times when they send a wave at you. Prestige perks, though. Battlefield Awareness is the one I ran into for Tip of the Spear, synergy. Helps with, like, making sure I get that much more damage when I close the gap, okay, basically. More health, it's a no-brainer. Launch Restoration will give me armor for using my ability. That will feed into my tankiness with Restless Fortitude, and then that feeds into me being able to get kills with Tip of the Spear, and then that also, since I have combat readiness, giving me all that bank, it's just fueling it. I went with more equipment damage as well for my prestige perk, just because I like the equipment. I merely scratched the surface of advice to tell you about this game, right? Between builds, map knowledge, enemy knowledge, there's a lot of things that go into this game, but in the next one I'll put all of mine to the test and see if I can beat Decapitation solo on Absolute.